and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. My name is Joyce Jariga. I'm the editor of the Chicago Catholic, the newspaper of the Archdiocese, and this is where we go beyond the headlines to talk about the people that we're covering in the newspaper. And today our guest is Augustinian Father Tom McCarthy. He is the vocation director for the Midwest Augustinians, which is Pope Leo's religious community. He's also at St. Rita High School and down on the south side, which used to be Quigley South. And he's here with us today to talk about the increase in attention since Pope Leo was elected our Holy Father, and also like the increase in interest in vocations to the Augustinians. So welcome, Father Tom.
Thank you, Joyce. Good to be with you. Hello, everyone.
So your life has changed overnight, right? It literally overnight when you got...
It certainly has.
So how's it?
It's been unbelievable.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit, share with people, when we've talked several times since the election, but for those folks who are watching that don't really know, like, can you talk about the attention you've gotten? And I mean, you've been over, we can talk about that too. You've been over to see Pope Leo a couple times, and you knew him too, as before that, obviously.
Yes. I have been interviewed about 45 times. And many of the Augustinians have beaten me on that one. And people just want to talk to us. And I think what they want to see is make a connection, that Pope Leo is one of us. He's a member of the Midwest province of Augustinians. He's a Chicagoan. He speaks our language, so to speak. And he likes the things we like. And I think that's what people have reached out. The day of his election, at St. Rita High School, I think we must have had 17 different news agencies that just showed up, including the New World.
Yeah.
Chicago Catholic. So, it's been a joy to do it. After a while, it's like, well, what more can I say? But people are longing for connections. And I think that's so much in life. We long for connections. And I think the church and through the social media like this program of how we can connect. And we could connect and we connect with Jesus, we connect with each other. And that's a very Augustinian thing of building the community and bringing people together. So it's been fun. It's been a little tiring, I'll tell you that. I mean, it certainly has slowed down. But the first couple of weeks, it was unbelievable. I think, personally, I was interviewed by people from 7 different countries.
Wow. Yeah, we kept running into them everywhere. Somebody from Australia, somebody from Brazil, somebody from, Yeah, we ran into them everywhere. I wanted to thank you, you guys as a province, because I was just telling Brian, for one of our producers, folks who are watching off the air earlier, the community made available to the media file photos and just bits of the history to everyone. And so people could just, from the media perspective, that was wonderful because we all had access to the historical photos and whatnot. But then my sister was in O'Hare a couple months later, and one of those air magazines that's just free for everybody in the airport, they had the picture of him with the Sox hat on, but inside it was all your stuff, and it was like the province made it easy to make him accessible to so many. So which is important.
I'm glad, and we want to share. He's our brother. He's our brother that's been called by God through the Holy Spirit to lead the church at this moment in the church's history. And, we know who Bob Prevost is. We know his leadership style. We know all about him. And by us sharing with the church, we're sharing the good news of one of our brothers. And he has not lost that with all of us. And he is truly... We're happy that the church is getting to know who he is, because we already know who he is, and we like who he is. And I think it's no surprise how the Holy Spirit guided, and he was chosen. And he was chosen for this unbelievable position of service, ministry to the church.
And can you share a little bit about with people who he is? You know, we've talked about that, and I know we've done stories at Chicago Catholic talking to you all about it, but just he's a regular person. You know, it's that's what's so wild about the whole thing. Like usually they're a little bit removed. Like Pope Francis rode the train, you know, and lived simply. You knew about John Paul II and the his life in Poland and whatnot. But you know, Cardinal Prevost, you know, eats pizza, you know, and at when or Father Prevost or Bob Prevost. So, can you share a little bit about the Bob you know?
Sure. You know, yeah, he does like pizza. He likes the White Sox. Um, he likes Peeps and Snowballs, Hostess Snowballs. So he must like marshmallow because that's the only thing I could put together when you have a Peep and a Hostess Snowball. The thing that's common is the marshmallow. But it just goes to show how normal he is. And that, you know, just like you and I, we enjoy sitting down for our favorite food or our favorite snack. He's the same way. You know, I was with him a month ago, and I had the privilege of spending an hour with him in his apartment, just the two of us. And people gave me all kinds of stuff to bring to him.
Yeah.
And one of the people, she put in a 2 pound box of Fannie Mae pixies, you know, the pixies, the turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was taking all this out of the bag, and he laughed when I walked in, I had these 2 big bags. And he said, "What are you doing? Moving in?" I said, "Well, this is all for you." And but when he saw the box of pixies, the Fannie Mae pixie, he said, "I love these, and no one has brought them." And so, Joyce, if you're ever going to meet the Pope, make sure you bring a 2 pound box of pixies from
From
Fannie
Fannie Mae.
Mae. But what that showed is he was so excited. It was a box of candy, which probably reminded him of home,
Yeah.
you know, and that he was going to enjoy it. Because I do understand he does have a sweet tooth, you know, how he does, and he's so skinny, I
I
don't
know,
know.
right?
Maybe it's because he's playing tennis so much or swimming, but you know, it just showed that he is so normal. And you know, let me share a story of my classmate, Father Bernie Sienna, and I were we had about 42 people going on a pilgrimage to Rome, to Italy from the St. Rita Shrine, and it was the not this past summer, but the summer before. And so we asked Cardinal Prevost, we said, "Would you say Mass for us, for our group, and, you know, in the crypts to the Basilica, and let's get as close to St. Peter's tomb as we could." And so he said, "Yeah, I can do it. My calendar's free." And he says, "Unless something comes up, I'll be there." And he said, "Now you guys you reserve the chapel." And I remember saying to him, said, "Bob, you have a red hat. I don't. You need to do it." And you know, he was so humble. And then he just smiled and he says, "Yeah, I know what you mean." Because if a cardinal's requesting the
Right.
chapel, he's going to get it.
Right.
Tom McCarthy requesting it, I might be in line with 17 other people.
Exactly.
You know, but that was how the humility of Bob Prevost, that here he has this, you know, this big role in the church as a cardinal, and he didn't lord it over anyone. He just, you know, said, "Okay, I'll take care of it then." But I love that story because it shows Bob Prevost, the man.
Yeah.
And, you know, he knows that he truly is a minister of the church, is called by God. And I'll never forget that story.
You know, from the first day, his Augustinian roots have been there, right? And
Oh, yes.
yeah, and the
He
world
said
is
that from the balcony.
right, right.
Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
When he
Go ahead.
came on, he said, "I am a son of St. Augustine. I am an Augustinian." Now, I don't know if you know, or if a lot of the people know, the pectoral cross he was wearing.
Hmm.
You know, that all bishops and cardinals wear a pectoral
Right.
cross. And the cross he was wearing when he was elected was a gift from the order when he was named cardinal. And inside the cross are relics, 6 relics, and the two that are the most famous are a relic of St. Augustine and St. Monica.
Aw,
And so there's the picture, if you can see it there. And inside that cross are those relics. And it was a gift from the Augustinians. So when he was
oh,
elected,
yeah.
he wasn't alone.
Wow.
He was with Augustine and Monica and several others, and all the order that gave him that cross. And so, again, he truly is a son of Augustine. And I'm sure St. Augustine was smiling down, saying, one of my own, one of my followers has made it to the papacy. But a lot of times you'll see him wearing that pectoral cross.
I was
And
gonna,
it's a
yeah, so
beautiful
he
reminder.
still is able to wear it.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And he has. I've seen him wear it several times. But it's the one, if you look at the picture when he was on the balcony, it's that one. That's the cross.
I'm gonna look for that all the time now. Can you
Yeah.
tell people, I mean, I know what the Augustinians are, but can you tell people who don't know, just real quick, who you guys are?
Well, we are a mendicant order that was founded in 1244 by Pope Innocent IV. So we're the only order that I'm aware of that was founded by the church. People say, oh, you weren't founded by St. Augustine? We were not, because Augustine lived 354 to 430. There were no such things as religious orders back then.
Yeah.
And so what he did is he lived with his friends after his conversion in 387, his baptism, and he lived with them, and it was kind of like a Christian fraternity house, would be maybe the best way to describe it. And then when he was named a priest, he was called to be a priest. He didn't want to be a priest, but he was called to, and he said yes. He then started another community, and then it was funny. He said he never would visit a place that needed a bishop because he never wanted to be a bishop. So he visited his friend Bishop Valerius, who was alive, but he was older. And he said, Augustine, you're going to be my successor. So God got him anyways. And so he said, I will only do it if I can start another community of my friends. And so now there were 3 communities following this way of life. And the other 2 said, Augustine, you don't live with us anymore. Can you write down how to live, how we're supposed to do this? And so it was in the year 400 that he wrote what today we call the Rule of St. Augustine, 8 short chapters on how to live life in this fraternity. And so what is so unbelievable, Joyce, is that rule, and you can look it up online, it's 8 short chapters. It was passed along without any hierarchy. And it was passed along to the year 1244. That's 800 years.
Wow.
I mean, scripture's passed along, but there's a hierarchy to scripture, the church.
Yeah.
And so that's what I love about that, is how relevant Augustine was writing that in 400, that transforms and transports into all ages, including today. Because every Augustinian man and woman, we put our hand on that rule when we profess our vows, and we promise to live by that. And so for 800 years, that was passed along. And then it was in 1244, there were all these groups of basically hermits that were living the rule of Augustine. And Pope Innocent IV invited them to come together and form the Order of St. Augustine as we know it today. So the order as we know it today was founded in 1244. But not everyone joined.
Okay.
And it was 12 years later, 1256, that Pope Alexander IV said to the ones that did not join, they had to join. And we call that the Grand Union. And so the order as we know it today, 1244, the Grand Union, 1256. But Augustine, we trace all the way back to 400 as our spiritual father. Everything we do as Augustinians goes through the lens of St. Augustine. But our founder was actually the church.
That's what's so, I didn't know that. I mean, I just assumed that Augustine was was your founder. But yeah, that is
Yeah. So we would call him our spiritual father,
okay.
and everything we do goes through his lens.
Now I was out there, out there being St. Rita, where you are now on the high school on the south side, folks. If you've ever been on Western Avenue, north of 79th, it's can't miss it. It's on the right hand. If you're going south, it's on the right hand side. Big chapel, big green campus. Used to be an archdiocesan seminary. Now it's St. Rita High School. But we were out there for, because you have, which I think is so cool, an RCIA program for your students, right?
Yes.
And at that time, you had mentioned just that offhand that you were getting more inquiries. And then this happened. And then the Pope, like the next week or so, the Pope gets elected. And so since then, it's kind of, at least the people making inquiries into Augustinian life. Can you talk, and we did a story on that, but can you talk about that?
Sure. The first week, we had 34,000 hits on the vocation website. And over 300 people put their information in to get more information.
Wow.
Now, you might think that's not a lot. That is massive. We might get 50 to 60 a year.
A year.
And this is what we got in a week. When I told Pope Leo, when I told him about that, he said, "Really?" He said, "That's unbelievable." I said, "Yeah, we're calling it the Leo effect." And what it's doing is, and I hope Pope Leo is doing this not just for the Augustinians, but for the church, for the diocesan seminaries, for other religious
Yes.
orders, is really making people, young people, stop and think, maybe this life is not everything I'm thinking, and maybe I do want to look, and I do want to see, is God calling me to the priesthood and or the religious life, men and women. And I really hope that Pope Leo, because of the way he's carrying himself, the way what he says, what he does, and I tell people, if you want to know who Augustinians are, watch him. I don't think he has spoken without mentioning St. Augustine. And he said, "I'm a son. He was formed. That's what we have, formation. You are formed into becoming an Augustinian." And he's lived that life for over 50 years. So, you don't give that up. And so what it's done is it really has kept us unbelievably busy. And people would say, well, or I heard about the Augustinians, or I never heard of the Augustinians, but then when I heard Pope Leo, I just thought I'd look into it. And then they go deeper and they see the communal life, they'll see the good works that we do in education and parochial work, and they'll say, well, I think I'm going to reach out. And so I've never been busier, and this is my 16th year doing vocation work. I've never been busier than I have been since May. And I'm not complaining.
No, and that's super exciting. And you guys have, as a spiritual father, one of the coolest things. I mean, all saints are cool, but I mean, here's a, Augustinian is, not yet, Jesus, I'm not ready yet.
Right.
I'm gonna put
He
this
wasn't
off.
baptized till he was 33.
Yeah, I'm still gonna have
He said,
but
he
then
said religion was for simple women like his mother, good old Saint Monica, who never gave up on him. Never gave up.
It's a super fun story. And I've noticed that with watching the Holy Father, even, from those first days. I mean, he goes to to your community in Rome and right away, and he had Father Tony. I remember seeing him in pictures he was over there, and he's joining
He just happened to be there. He was on vacation when he just happened to be there.
Yeah.
Talk
Wow.
about
Okay.
being in the right place at the right time.
I thought he went over for something like, something else, but yeah.
No, it was vacation.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was there for his installation. I saw, I don't know if he was representing the religious or whatever, but I saw him, he's one of those people that walked up to him, and, he kind of looked like he was so, to Father Tony, like, he's having a good time, and it's kind of funny
Yeah.
that, hey, Bob, how's it going? You busy today?
Want to go for a pizza?
Yeah, right. So it's been pretty amazing. Can you talk about we've got a few minutes left, but talk about what you guys specifically do in Chicago?
Absolutely. We've been in Chicago since Archbishop Quigley invited us in 1904.
Oh, cool.
And we formally started here in 1905. Father James Green came from the East Coast, and this was the farthest west the Augustinians were coming. Back then it was like the wild, wild west. And to get here from Philadelphia, that took a long time. It wasn't like traveling today, even on a train.
Right.
It was a tough ride. It was a long ride. And so Father James Green came and laid the foundations for St. Rita Parish, St. Rita High School, and St. Rita College.
Okay.
The college never came to be, although the heading over the main entrance, and we have it here at the new campus, says in the granite St. Rita's College. So the college never came to be, but the high school and the parish are both in our 121st year and both flourishing. We moved in 1990 from our location on 63rd Street in Claremont, which is one block east of Western, to when Quigley South merged and became Archbishop Quigley. So we moved in and bought the campus. But the parish is still in the same place it has been since 1922, because before that, from 1905 to 1922, it was the school and the parish were in the same building. And it was in 1922 that they became two separate Augustinian communities, and both flourishing today. So we minister at St. Rita, at St. Rita of Cascia, St. Clare Montefiasco Parish. It's a merged parish. St. Turbius Parish. We have our formation students at the Catholic Theological Union in Hyde Park, and we have St. Rita High School. And so that's in the Chicago Archdiocese, and that presence of our provincial offices are in the old convent at St. Barnabas in Beverly on Longwood Drive. And so we've been here since 1905. And it's been, I'm from Chicago, so I went to St. Rita High School. That's how I joined.
Yeah.
But, so we've always had this presence, especially on the south side of Chicago. And we're still here, and we're still doing well, and God willing, we'll be around for the next 100 years.
Amen.
I mean, I won't be around, but hopefully the order will be around.
I'll tell you a real quick story. St. Rita Cascia Parish, Gage Park, has a special place in my heart because folks watching may know our photographer, Karen Calloway, who, if you're ever at a big archdiocesan event, you'll see Karen with her photos, or with her camera lugging around. We were out there on Good Friday for a Pessime service. They were going to walk from St. Rita up to St. Clair, and there's this little dog outside barking at this kid, can't make this stuff up, barking at a statue of Jesus and Mary, right? Because a Pessime service, for folks who don't know, is where it's particularly in Latin American countries traditionally, where it's a devotion that you spend Good Friday evening with Mary, consoling her in her grief. And there's usually some form of a procession. So they had moved all the statues outside, and this little dog's running around. And Karen, our photographer, has like 6 dogs. She's like, Joyce, like everybody went inside. We thought somebody had brought the dog, and everybody goes in, and dog's still there. She's like, go get him. And so apparently he had been, I don't know, somebody dropped him off or something. I pick him up, give him to Karen. He like falls asleep in Karen's arms. And before the assignment's over, she had named him Friday, his name, because it was Good Friday. So his name was Good Friday. We checked with the parish, we put up signs. He had been there all day. He had been to the Via Crucis that they had, and he didn't have a chip. And then I called, came home with me because I was the only one who didn't have a dog. My sister lived with my sister. She already had a couple dogs, and he became a part of our family. You could call Chicago Public, the animal control, but they won't give you the dog back, and he was already part of the big family. So we got my dog on the streets at St. Rita.
That's awesome.
So, and then folks who are watching, there's also a wonderful novena down at St. Rita High School
Oh yeah, the shrine. I should have mentioned that. That
Yeah,
was
go ahead, tell people about
started
that.
by Father Green in 1907. And it's a perpetual novena to St. Rita of Cascia. It's every first Thursday of the month at 7 p.m. You could be live at 77th and Western, or we're also online. And it's an unbelievable, when you fill that chapel up with like 300 people that don't have to be there because it's a Thursday night. No
Right.
one's going because it's their obligation to go to Mass. And everyone there has a story. So the Shrine Ministry, and we teach our young men in formation. They're all part of that ministry, a Shrine Ministry. Everyone has a story. And if you're doing it right, you get to know people's stories. People are there for joyful reasons. People are there for sorrowful reasons. People are there, to come and pray. I can't tell you how many babies I know of that have been conceived because couples have prayed to St. Rita.
Oh, wow.
And people, she lost her sons and her husband violently, and people who come, who have lost a loved one. And, we're known for our kringle afterwards, our wonderful Danish kringle from Racine, Wisconsin. So I invite anyone to come on out the first Thursday of every month, either live, 77th and Western. We start confessions at 6 o'clock. We have ample 400-car parking.
Yes.
It's a wonderful, or you can join us online. But yeah, St. Rita is truly the saint of the impossible.
And
if you don't know about her, you need to get to know her.
Yeah, and definitely go. It's on our bucket list of things. And then every year there's a week-long novena for folks, and it's a truly special thing. I highly recommend it. So before we go, let me give a shout out to the paper. Folks, if you're watching, you can check us out at ChicagoCatholic.com. All of our stories are up there. You can check out what Pope Leo, formerly Cardinal Father Bob Prevost, is doing in Rome. Also what's going on in the Archdiocese. We have some fun stuff. We just did a story about if you watched America's Got Talent, our Leo choir represented well, and they came.
I never voted on that show in my life until Leo did.
Same.
And I voted every time. And I really think they should have won it.
Oh, me too. I think that they didn't want to have to tour 20 kids, right? Like, it was cheaper if they got to put one person on like the after tour. Then, there's no way that all of Chicago is voting, right? And all of the archdiocese. I saw posts on like parishes out in Midlothian and, all the way up north. Everybody was voting, I think they won too. So folks, check out St. Rita of Cascia. You won't be sorry and check out the novena and go there. And the Midwest Augustinians, you can Google them. And Father, it's always a pleasure to be with you. And thanks so much for making the time and sharing, your knowledge of your good friend, who's now the Pope, with us.
Well, you're welcome, Joyce, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. All right, till next time. We'll see you later.
God bless you all.
You too.